All right, I'm at the top of page 28. I'm glad you've decided to see reason, said Mrs. Renwick. I'm an old woman and a dying woman to boot, and my words are worth hearing. A woman can't be anything she wants to be, because that's not the way the good Lord made us. He made us to be the helpmeets of men and to be protected by them. If women go out being doctors and reporters and demanding to vote, then how can they expect men to protect them anymore? Violet hadn't said anything about voting. Getting the right to vote was Chloe's project. Father had said that it was sending Chloe off to college that had filled her head with damn fool crazy ideas. But Violet knew that Chloe's head had been filled with crazy ideas before. Violet didn't much care about voting. She was only 11 and nobody was talking about giving 11-year-olds the vote. Mrs. Renwick went on. The Lord has given females the wonderful gift of being able to bear children, and that's the work that women do. So let's hear no more of this nonsense about wanting to be a reporter. Now, how many children do you want to have, Violet? Violet felt deflated. She flopped back on the prickly green train seat, even though she could hear Mother in her head scolding that a lady doesn't ever let her back touch the back of her chair. There was no point in arguing with Mrs. Renwick, even less point than there had ever been in arguing with Mother or Father. What Mrs. Renwick was saying was the same thing that Violet had heard again and again for as long as she could remember. 7, Violet said. People were always asking her how many children she wanted, just as they asked boys what they wanted to be when they grew up. She had learned that 7 was a very impressive answer. Certainly it impressed Mrs. Renwick. 7? Gracious, that's quite a lot, my dear. Violet managed to smile. Mother had always told her, smile even if it breaks your face. Well, that's a much better idea than being a reporter. 7? My, aren't you an ambitious little chick? Mrs. Renwick leaned forward creakily to pinch Violet's cheek, which Violet submitted to despite an overwhelming smell of mothballs. Here, Mrs. Renwick waved to the candy butcher, who was coming down the aisle with his box-shaped tray strapped to his belly. A Tootsie Roll for the young lady, please. No, make it 2 Tootsie Rolls. The man gave Violet the candy and accepted a nickel from Mrs. Renwick. Anything for yourself, ma'am? Oh, no, not for me. Mrs. Renwick's enthusiasm waned suddenly, and she did the thing with her eyelids again. Violet looked hastily away. I'm not well, you know, dying, in fact. But the candy butcher hadn't listened past no, and was off down the aisle again calling, Candy! Violet bit into a Tootsie Roll and let the burned chocolate taste run over her tongue. She looked at the dying Mrs. Renwick, whom she had politely thanked, of course, and thought that if growing up meant having 7 children and wearing a dead bird on her head, Violet would rather have been born a boy. As you're reading this chapter, I want you to think about the other aspects that are happening around this time, what you're hearing about the women's right to vote, what might be different sides to that story, and how this relates to that bigger picture of inequality. So, thanks for joining me. Bye.